Everyone wants to have a nice day on the water when they go boating, and to make sure you do, Nick, there's a few things you can do to your boat when it's out of the water.
Preventative maintenance, Andrew. As you say, there are some simple things that make sure your day out in the boat is safe and enjoyable.
One of the simplest and most valuable things you can do to prolong the life of your boat's engine is to flush it with fresh water after it's been out in the salt. Huey Lewis from Lewis Marine takes up the story.
Okay, the method of flushing the engine out is just with a standard set of muffs, which most boaties are familiar with. Slide them in over the leg, over the water intakes. Then we go and turn the water on. And keeping in mind that once we've started the engine, we need to run it for long enough to make sure that the thermostat opens and the engine gets a good flush out with fresh water. Probably 2 to 3 minutes is long enough with a normal engine. Once we've run the engine for a few minutes, just turn the engine off, and I'll now go through another method in which we can flush the engine without running it. A lot of the modern 4-stroke engines have a separate flushing device, which is on this particular engine is on the side of the engine, and we just screw a standard hose fitting in here, hook the hose on it. And the good part about this flushing device is you don't run the engine. So if you're in a neighbourhood environment where the neighbours are complaining or they've got dogs that are going to bark, you can just turn the hose on and flush the engine out without running the engine at all.
The fresh water removes all the corrosive salt deposits out of the cooling and internals of the engine, and while you're at it, there's an easy way to protect the outside from salt as well. All that's required is a spray can of water displacing lubricant.
Okay, with the engine maintenance, just make sure that you get your cowling off and put that somewhere safe so no one trips over it. And then just generally spray around the engine, just keeping sure that you don't spray around the starter motor, around the other side of the engine. So just spray some spray on the engine itself, making sure that we keep well away from the starter motor, which is just here. And also, while you've got the cowling off the engine, if it's a 4-stroke engine, pull your dipstick out and just check your oil levels and then put your dipstick back in. Make sure that you push your dipstick hard home so that it doesn't blow itself out of the engine.
So with the engine taken care of, let's move on to the trailer, a critical part of the equation for hassle-free boating.
One of the most important things on your trailer, as we'd all would know, is your bearing buddies and your wheel bearings. And most of the trailers these days have bearing buddies on them, which in a lot of cases have a little rubber cap over them, just like this one has. The bearing buddy has a little spring inside it, and the idea of these is to keep the grease pressure on your back seal in your wheel hub to stop the water coming in. And the most important thing here is not to pump too much grease in them, because you'll end up blowing the seal out of the back of the hub. As you can see with this particular one, that the grease nipple is back probably 20 mil or so from the front of the face of the bearing buddy. So the idea is just to put your grease gun on your grease nipple and just pump a couple of pumps of grease in it without putting too much in it, and just make sure that we've got the pressure back on the back seal in your trailer to make sure that the seal doesn't let any water into your wheel bearings. And after you've done that, just wipe off the excess grease and then put your little rubber cap back on it to make sure no dirt can get in there.
If you're storing your boat for any period of time, it's a good idea to disconnect the batteries or isolate them if possible. Give the steering a couple of turns whenever you can to keep its parts moving freely. And if you store your boat where water can accumulate in it, make sure the bungs are out and the bow is raised so that water can escape. Here's another good tip.
So just keeping in mind that if you're going to leave your trailer stored for a long period of time, that you need to make sure that you chock your trailer with some wooden chocks or some angular chocks and let your brakes off. Otherwise, you're in occasions that the disc pads stick to the discs on the trailer and you can't freewheel your trailer around. And once you've done that, just occasionally put a little bit of grease into your coupling. If you've got override brake coupling, in through here and in this one, and also just a little bit of grease on the shaft here because there's a big spring inside here which actuates your brakes.
So the things you've seen today are the things that every regular boatie can do, Hardy, when the boat is tied up in the off-season.
That's exactly right, Nick, but be sure to get your boat serviced by an outboard mechanic sort of every 100 hours or every 12 months.